Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Your Morning Drive. I am the host with the most, Logan Lewis, back at you with another great episode with another great guest. But before we get into them, let's talk about a couple things. Number one, wherever you're at right now, stop and pull up the podcast app, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, hit follow on that app. That makes sure that you get every episode every Wednesday without missing a beat. And it just helps us out a lot as well. On any of those platforms, like it, thumbs up, leave a review, whatever it takes to show some love. I would certainly appreciate it. Of course, you can follow along on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok for all of the behind the scenes stuff, all of the the guest information, the clips, sponsor stuff, everything in between is on social media. All right, let's roll, my friends. My guest today is the owner and president of Yaya Publicity in New York City, a firm that just celebrated 15 years of elevating jewelry brands on a global stage. With a client roster that spans the United States, Asia, Europe, the UK, Australia, and more, her work centers on building lasting relationships with clients, editors, influencers, and stylists. From Allison Liu to another brand I don't want to screw up the name of her brands have been featured worldwide, including a career highlight when some of the jewelry was worn during a Super Bowl halftime show by Kendrick Lamar. At the heart of it all, she believes success and publicity comes down to the relationships that you cultivate over time. Please welcome my new friend, Yaya.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Very excited to be here. Thanks, Logan, for having me and for me, allowing me to tell my story. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being game to jump on and chat with me. I notice how, of course, guys, before we started, I asked her how to pronounce her name correctly and overthought it while I was doing the intro. And I was like, screw it. I'm just going to call her the thing that she says a lot of people call her just to be safe.
Yes.
So here we are. But yeah, before we talk about what you're doing now and talk about the amazing 15-year achievement that you guys hit this year, give me your little origin story. Where are you from? Parents, siblings, upbringing? Kind of give me the little kind of brief origin story.
Absolutely. So I was actually born and raised in Miami, Florida. My parents are Hispanic. My mom's from Mexico City. My dad is from Bogota, Colombia. So growing up, my life was very traditional in a sense. My family always, envisioned me to be at home till I got married. I was not really to leave home. And obviously, life has different plans. When I graduated college, I moved to New York City. I have two brothers who stayed in Miami, and I was really the independent one that always saw, a different future for myself. Entrepreneurship was really, I grew up with it. And my father was, very for that. And it was something that was instilled in me at a young age. Since, the start that I can get my first job, I remember I was like 16 walking in the mall in Aventura and I went into Abercrombie and they're like, hey, do you want a job? And I was like so excited. So at a young age, the first moment I can, I really always wanted to do my own thing. So grew up in Miami. And as I said, I went to college there and I was interning for someone at the time and it was PR. It was something that I realized that I loved. I love connecting with people. I can't just sit behind a computer and input numbers. I'm such a relationship person. And so when this internship came about, it was great. It felt like the perfect fit. And within a few months, she was like, I want to hire you. And I was like, great. It was awesome. Like, I really didn't have a long internship. So it obviously was, a great feeling to know that she wanted me to kind of hop on. And interestingly, she was based in Miami, but, New York and LA have always been such strong markets for PR. So she asked me, she's like, hey, would you move to New York or LA to open our office? And, I was, 20 at the time. And I was like, yes, like, how could I not want this? So I gave it some thought. And as much as I love LA, and LA actually is a big part of my business right now, New York just felt like an easier move and maybe an easier sell to my parents who never thought that I would ever leave home. Um, And it also just felt like an easier place to meet people. I find New York is just a pedestrian city. I think it's something that you can, share a cab with someone, you could be on the streets, and it's just what New York is about. So I picked New York and, I broke the news to my parents. And I remember telling them it's only 1 year. Like I knew I always wanted to have my own company. And, I told my dad, I told my mom, I was like, I have to go for the year. If I'm ever going to be able to open my own business, I need to have this experience for myself and to really connect with the people. Cause at the time, traditional media was probably 90% of the business. And that was, the traditional magazines. And for that, you had to meet with editors and bring the product over. And it's really different than it is today. So I convinced them. And I remember I moved in 2008 and it was January. So it was really the heart of winter. Miami girl coming in, like really embracing that weather. And it was the best decision I ever made. And the funny thing is that that summer I actually met my husband. So 1 year now, and now, still in New York and not going anywhere. But it really was the best decision for me, for my career, for everything. So I moved in January, and from January until May, I opened her office and I was working by myself in this office that, I opened for her. And it was lonely in a way because it was me doing everything. I had really no colleagues, no one to really talk to. And at the same time, I had all the responsibility as if it were my own. I was meeting with new clients. I was bringing a new business. I was meeting with the editors. I was meeting with the clients. So I remember speaking to my father and going back to the very entrepreneurship. He was like, well, why are you working for somebody? Like, it seems that you are doing this on your own as is. So what, why are you working for someone? And I was like, you know what, you're right. So I was like, I broke the news. I flew down to Miami and I told her, and I never ever want to, burn any bridges. And that is something that I can't emphasize it enough that for anyone who ever is looking, for jobs or anything, the one thing is that you should always leave a door open because you never know. And honestly, your reputation is everything you have. And you should always leave on good terms with everyone, whatever the circumstance may be. So I told her, obviously, she didn't take it so well, but I really, I said, I'm like, I will never take any client that I brought in. Like, this is something that I'm starting on my own. I will never, the clients that I brought in for you will stay here. I'm not looking to take any business. Like, I know I can do this on my own. And so I did. And at the time, I actually started something with a friend of mine because it felt easier to like start with someone, right? It's never so easy to just be like, okay, I'm really going to do this. So
Yeah.
at the time, we started and it lasted about a year and a half. But another lesson I learned is that friends and business don't always work so well.
Mm.
So unfortunately, we separated, and in 2010, I started Yaya, and it just felt like the natural course for me. The nice thing is that when from my internship time, it was accessories and swimwear was our main focus and what we did. And so I took that on with me, and accessories was really what stayed on. I did have a few swimwear brands, which were great because it felt familiar to me. And coming from Miami, it was a big market. And weirdly, accessories and swimwear did have some sort of synergy and it like worked out. Fast forward to COVID time, I would say that that is pretty much where I realized that jewelry had to be my main focus. I think people, no one was traveling. Swimwear was a really hard market at the time of 2020, 2021. People really were just looking at, shopping in a very different way. And interestingly enough, is the jewelry market really skyrocketed. My clients have never done better than they did in 2020, 2021, even 2022. I think that people, who were so used to traveling and spending, their money on different luxuries were really stuck in a bind and doing, having to pivot. And so jewelry just felt like a natural course. People were doing Zoom. Like people could be in their pajamas, but putting on like great jewelry, like that's all that mattered. And so it really, cemented that this was the right market for me. It really also gave so much opportunities for people. And, we had to pivot. And I think that that is something about PR is that we're constantly pivoting into how, we're growing and how technology is moving and, where we are. And like I said, when we first started traditional media, when I first started, my clients had no care to be on a digital platform. It was really only like the InStyle magazines, like Lucky at the time, Vogue, Elle, the thought of being on a digital, it was like, we don't care about that. Like that does nothing for us. Like not really, it wasn't really understood. I did have one client that, is still with me to this day, which is really special. And she is someone that's always took a risk and always kind of understood the growth of where people are going. And so when influencers per se started doing their thing and started posting what they're wearing, and that she was my one Jennifer Zuner. She was the one client that was receptive to it and was like, you know what, let's work with these girls. At the time, they had hundreds of followers, and now it's funny to see that they have millions. Really amazing to see their growth. And it was really nice to see that I did have at least one client that was really open to that idea because it was an unknown. It's you're giving product to something that you don't really know what this return is going to look like. But at the end of the day, it really was, beneficial for her because I think that it showed people that, she was here from the beginning. She's not someone that just came at their biggest success, but I think that it was nice for them to see like, oh, she believed in us when we were just trying to like grow this thing. So that has been, really nice. And I think that part of PR, like I said, I think it's really just about pivoting and seeing what is working and what doesn't, because every brand is different, every experience is different, and every placement is different. So while there are still some traditional placements, because I still love a magazine. I will go to an airport. I love to
Me
pick
too.
up a magazine. Like there's something just really gratifying about it. And I do have clients, that their clientele are the women or the men that read, the Town and Country, the, whatever it may be, like Esquire, GQ. Like there are those, that really do like to flip through a magazine and still appreciate that. And then you have ones, that are just the younger generation that is on their phones all day, that is looking at what is that digital story? Oh, what are the best earrings that, Elle is telling me that I need to buy? Because it also gives that instant gratification. I'm like, oh, I see these earrings. I like it. I'm going to buy it. I'm just going to click it and it's here tomorrow. So I think that that has been something really great as this world has given us these opportunities. And I think it's just an easier way for clients to really be able to see things on a quicker people like quick, like they like that instant gratification. They like to see, oh, Yaya placed me here and I'm able to see sales come from it directly. And I think that that is something really nice that we can offer. And then, celebrity. Celebrity is maybe the one thing that has stayed constant since the beginning of how I started. Celebrity sells. People still care about the it girls, what they're wearing. People still care about what they're wearing to red carpet. And I think that that has been something nice because it's felt familiar and it's something that hasn't changed with this world that constantly is evolving for us. But, we don't just end it there. And that's like something that I tell a client, it's like Sydney Sweeney, for example, last night wore one of our clients to the governor's awards. And so we tell our clients, like, it's amazing that she's wearing it. And now our job is to make sure that we're telling the world. So with the digital, platform of it, we're able to kind of instantly get all the people that are writing about her to say, hey, this is who she's wearing. Please make sure that you credit it because it allows for that SEO, it allows for that brand growth, and it allows for people to really just identify what she's wearing. Because I think that's really important for what I do.
Yeah, wow. So much to
You
think
know?
about, and I think no, and this is all good. I mean, I'm thinking about, like, how you've talked a lot about pivoting and how important that can be, especially in, like, the communications, marketing, PR space. I mean, like you said, crazy to think that in 2010 or around that time, people didn't have a care in the world to be in a digital platform. And now, like, vice versa, if you were to say, "Hey, you could be on it," unless it's, like a Vogue or a
Right.
magazine of such, you know, that
Prestige.
has such a reputation. If you said, "Hey, you wanna be on the cover of a magazine?" People will be like, "Huh?
Yeah,
What?" But funny enough, that's just how things have gone, and who knows, in 10 years from now, it could be something else. So,
exactly.
I think it's just being open and willing to embrace those new changes that will keep people afloat for 15 years versus those who say, no, we're going to stick with print. We're going to write it until it dies. And then unfortunately, when print dies, they didn't pivot quick enough and then they're out. And it's unfortunate, but it
100%.
happens. People don't love change.
I've
But
learned that change is important. And like, although it can feel like what it's, listen, people don't like the unknown. I think that's just in any part of your life. And I think yeah,
yeah, me
it's
too.
never easy, but, like, circumstances in my life have proven to me that though it might not seem like the greatest, it ends up always working out for the best, and I think that, like you said, I think pivoting and I think that growing is what's really gonna help people stand out, but also succeed and stay standing while others will, weave out because they didn't want to, continue on the path, and I think, that goes on that really is it hits home to many things. Like I don't necessarily think it's only communications. I think it's just a lot of industries that I think that people really need to learn that it's really going in different directions. Like I had someone close to me at the time, they had the most amazing brick and mortar store. And this was also in 2008, 2010. And I remember speaking with them saying like, "Hey, I think you really need to start pivoting to online. Like people are really shopping online." It wasn't as popular as it is now, but at the time it was like it really people were starting it. And I guess at the time they didn't really see the importance of it. And unfortunately, like it didn't really get to succeed in a way that it should have. And I think that that was something, and that's why. And so I think that we have to, AI is coming, like things are coming, and we just need to know how to work with it and not really try to fight it. And I think that that is something that we can really learn, as in any industry.
Your morning drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready to drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase.
Yeah, the AI stuff is weird because, I'm at this crossroads with it personally, being a marketer and, somebody who's creating content. I love it and I use it quite often. And I mean, all day, every day, really. And, a while ago, someone asked me, aren't you afraid of it? Are you afraid of it at all? Like, and I was like, not really, because in 20 years, the job market is going to be in a place where if you don't know how to use and manipulate AI to work for you or for whatever you're doing, that's going to differentiate people as those who decided, no, I don't want any part of it. I'm not going to use it, from those who actually took the time to embrace all the changes. All of it feels like every app we have now has just been like, we've got a new AI chatbot now. And it's like,
Totally.
okay, sounds like I'm going to use it. Like, I didn't know I needed AI to order Pizza Hut, but I guess
Yeah.
this is where we're at.
But I agree with you. I think that, again, going back to that, I think people need to be receptive and like learn to use the things as opposed to fight it. Because at the end of the day, you can work ways that are going to improve your work, in many ways. And I think, listen, like AI, there's so much that's going to happen with it, and it is like still like unknown and it is scary for certain industries. But I think it's a matter of, how does it work for you? How can you like work together in tandem so that you can, help yourself succeed even more? It doesn't have to replace you. It can just maybe elevate you. And I think that that is something that we should really teach people. And, hopefully that, our kids are able to, learn that as, future holds.
Sure. And I'm a movie buff myself, but I think people just watch too many
Same.
movies and they think about the iRobots of the world. That's the fun example people like to throw out is like, what happened? Well, at this point in time, we're recording this towards the end of 2025. Now only is what it is because of the information that people give it. Hopefully it remains that way for quite a long time, because once it starts thinking for itself that's when you get concerned. But
Right.
I feel like we're in a pretty okay place with it now. I mean, again, like it feels like everything is built off of Chat GPT with it being an open AI. So unless Chat GPT goes down, I think we're okay for a while, right?
I think so too. And I always joke that I'm like, luckily, AI and a robot's not gonna be able to pull the samples and to like do this job. So I think that I'm like golden,
Yeah, you're in a good
unintended.
spot. And I think a lot of people are in a good spot, but they just don't realize it because, with today's world, it's easy to be afraid of things. Negativity is spread daily on the news, on social media. Negativity is easier to grasp than positivity. And I
But you
think
know what though? I
people,
think it also goes like going to what you're saying is that, we talk about like a cancel culture, which is very hard, like in terms of like the society. Like I think that nowadays, like even for me, like before I post anything, I have to reread like what I'm gonna say like 100 times because I'm like, oh God, like anything could be misconstrued these days. Like I feel like people are always just looking to dissect anything that you say, whether it comes from such like a harmless, frame. But they just always sometimes like try to find like this negative aspect. And I think that that is something that, people in general have to now really worry about, which is something that we never had to deal with back in the day. Back in the day, like you could post as you want, you can wear what you want. And now it's like everything is just taken apart and it's just it's actually like exhausting.
It is exhausting, and it's sad because it feels like you said, like, you used to be able to just, like, throw your opinions out there, whether they were controversial or not. Like, people used to just say things, and now, like, similarly, I posted something not too long ago, and someone commented, "Really, bro?" And I was like, "Well, I guess you could take that way, but that is in no
Not
way
how
what
you
I
wanted
was in."
it.
Yeah, and then, there's this pressure, to well, you need to say something about it, or you got to apologize, and it's like, okay, but like, hey, I'm sorry for posting the thing that I had no intention of hurting people's feelings, but I guess my joke. I went to a comedy show last night, right? And like one of the openers for the comedian said, like, we need to laugh more. Like, we need to not take ourselves so seriously all the time.
It's
And
true.
like, I made a harmless joke that wasn't, offensive towards any group of people or anything, but someone in the comments still took it apart. And I thought, man, I'm just out here trying to put things out there that are positive. And
There's
if you,
always gonna be somebody, and that's the thing, and I think that we've welcomed this cancel culture, and it sucks, like, it really does, like, I think that, it really stops people from being able to show their creative sense because everything that they post is now like, "Okay, is this gonna, offend somebody somewhere?" Because someone will always be offended, even if it has nothing to do with what they think. So,
yeah,
that has been also, like, a challenge.
the cancel culture thing is weird because I feel like yeah, you should not say or do certain things for sure. Like, I'm not gonna give
Right.
any excuse to anything crazy, but like, going in, like, I think the popular example a while ago was like when Kevin Hart was chosen to host the Emmys or something, or the Grammys,
Okay.
or whatever award show it was, and they went and dug up old tweets from like 2004, and it was
I
like,
know.
come on, man, like, yeah, the things he said were, if said in 2025, may be
Right.
problematic, but in 2004 it was a different time. So I feel like it's unfair
To
sometimes.
dig
I'm
up.
not going to give
Yeah, yeah,
excuses for
no.
those who do
Of course,
truly
listen.
horrible things. But
Agreed. And I agree with you that I think that sometimes, listen, I think people in their past have said stupid things. Like we all have. We've all like made things that like we might not have been aware of and not in like a malicious way, but like we've all done dumb stuff. Like it's part of life. And unfortunately, we live in a digital footprint now that is something that we never had to really grow up having, where it's always going to come back to you. And I say this to my kids all the time. So I have 4 kids. My oldest one is 13. Teenager. And so I tried to tell him that it's like, you can't mess up anymore. Like everything you say and do will be held against you. And so you can, any text message, these are things that like when I grew up, I never had to worry about. And so now, like, things can be, people will go back at like years from now and say, oh, like in 20 whatever year, you said this. And it was like, okay, like it was so harmless. But, at the time, like it's just whatever time that we're living in, it just becomes this grand, like, offensive thing, which really wasn't that. And people like to really play out things at like they like to build it up more than it has to be. And I think that that's just also part of the media and part of this like social, life that we live in right now. And so that's challenging.
so with all that said, being in the world that you are with the PR world, do you find it, I mean, I know you said a second ago that you actually had to take a step back and like really like reread what you were about to post because you're afraid of, when you're running a publicity firm like you are, I mean, one big misstep could be the end. I mean, brands could
100%.
pull out,
Yeah.
celebrities could pull out, like everyone could say to hell with them and we're not going to do business with them anymore because of this accidental thing that you said. So, I mean,
100%.
what's it like to navigate your everyday in that world? Are you just, I don't want to say walking on eggshells, but kind of really
So
double
I try
crossing those T's?
So my Instagram basically has become my website, right? It's like, so it's my voice, it's me. I have personal on there. Like I'll show like my kids, I'll show this because that's who Yaya is, right?
Yeah.
But I do draw a line, and I've learned that I do not post anything political. I don't post anything that can be, taken any way. Like I really like hone in, and like I'm very mindful in what I post. Like what I post is really strictly like work, and then just like my kids and family and certain things that like I like about travel. But I really try, like there's certain things like political, religion, things like that that I just don't even like post because I just know that it will never end well. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, but I think that we live in a world that that's not the case. So at this point, it's just fair to like really, I leave it to work. And, even my clients, I have clients from all over the world, the Middle East, from, Australia, like you said, South America. And so for me, I love everybody. And for me, I try to just be as like a positive, like you said, you work on a platform that you really just try to be positive and like bring lighthearted to the community. And that's really what I try to do. It's really, jewelry is fun. It's beautiful. It's sparkling. Like we do fashion, like it should always be in a fun light. It should never be taken, so seriously, and it shouldn't be dark, and like it should be for what it is.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
absolutely agree. So yeah, yeah, help me out here because I don't know a ton about really what you're doing every day, like, or in the PR world in general, So I know that you work with jewelry and
Yes.
so I guess my question that I'm trying to get at is, I ask people to tell me what they do, and then they give me their explanation. But then I'm like, okay, but like, how do you actually like make money? How does money come in? So are you working with brands to put their jewelry on people, and then those people, like you said, like Sydney Sweeney wearing one of their pieces to the
Hmm.
whatever she wore it
Yeah.
to? Like, is that how you're making money? Like, walk me through like what that looks like.
Of course. So PR has really many ways of structuring how like people get paid. Mine, since the beginning, I've always just had a retainer. So I have certain brands, and then I get a retainer, and in that retainer it gets really everything. I don't believe in like a menued service, and some people always come to me asking that, and I say no, because I really find that like a full PR campaign and like to really get the results that people want is really to have it all. So it has the celebrity, the editorial, and the digital, which is like really our main. I say that we're traditional in that sense because that really is like the traditional PR, but not just like your magazines. So a client will come to me and they'll say, we want to hire you. And I'm like, great. I'm selective with who I take on. If I have too many brands, like I'll be at capacity. Or if it's a brand that I personally wouldn't see myself wearing, I won't take it on. Because at the end of the day, it's my relationships can only take me a certain way. Like I always have to say the product does have to be there. And I really have to believe in it. So, it's not like I say yes to everybody. And so a client will come and I'll say, great. And so they do a monthly routine. And the nice thing that I do actually, which is not so norm, is I in essence do a month to month. Most PR companies will, want a contract for 6 months to a year because it really does take time to see results. But my philosophy is anything can happen. Also, like we might not like each other. We might not work well together. And I don't want you to be with me because of a contract. I want you to be with me because you're happy and like you see the results coming through and it feels like a great partnership, And so I always leave that. And I think that that is something that's enticing to clients. And within that, then my job is to make sure that I get them as many placements as possible. But I can never guarantee what that is. So it's interesting because I have to sell a service that I'm like selling something that I can't really tell you, like, okay, tomorrow you're going to see X, Y, and Z. You're basically like selling yourself and just like hoping that they trust, based on what your track record has shown and just your reputation. And that's why they stay with you. And the nice thing is I've had my clients for many, many years just because I'm confident in what I can do and the results that I'm able to provide. So my job is really just to get as many placements, whether it's celebrity, the digital, the editorial, without being able to commit how many, but every brand is so different.
Sure. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I feel like similarly in my world with like I also, in addition to doing this podcast, I also run like a small company consisting of just me that
Nice.
I sell like website design and social media marketing
Oh, that's
and
great.
stuff like that. And similarly, I'm sitting down with a small business owner and they're like, okay, you're going to take over my Instagram and Facebook. What then? Like, what's going to happen
Right.
next week? And I'm like, this is not an overnight
Right.
success. This is, like you said, I also don't do contracts because, for the same reasons. What if we don't like each other? What if I learn your brand over the course of the first month and think like this might not be a good fit, insert other reasons. And so
Totally.
you're selling something that it's kind of a shot in the dark. You have a
Yeah.
general idea of what's going to happen, but you don't necessarily know, hey, this could be 2 weeks, this could be 2 months, this could be 2 years. So
Agreed. And you hit it
it's
on the spot
it's
with that, like
difficult.
the overnight success. I think that, and I always say, like, the first thing I tell a client is it's not going to happen overnight. Like, and I always also say that something that's important for people to understand with what we do is that, because they're like, okay, so if this person is going to wear my jewelry, am I going to get sales from it? I don't know, because every brand is different. Every price point is different. I have price points from the millions of dollars to like $20. So it's so different. Every placement is so different and it can hit a different way. So I always say that, like, do not take PR for hit for hit. You take PR as a total brand awareness and total, brand building so that people can know who you are. But it's not going to happen overnight. I always find that the people that think this overnight success fall overnight as well. And I think it's just like a consistent building that you have to do that really will get you to create this demand for your product. Like, that's my job. My job is to get people to create a demand, and to go to a store and be like, okay, I know this brand. I've been seeing it. Like, I want it. Like, how do I find it? Or going online and being like, okay, I've been seeing this everywhere. Clearly I need it. Um, but it's not overnight. And that's like the one thing that it's like very hard to explain to clients because at first they get it, but then it's like, okay, like they start getting like antsy and this and that. And it's like, oh, like there's always, nothing's ever enough sometimes. And so it's hard, it's a hard balance to try to explain of like how this really works. And like, then after 6 months, so I do the month to month, but I do a suggested 6 months. I'm like, 6 months is like a fair assessment for you to see like where you started and like where you're going. And really at the 6 months, my clients do see like a pivotal moment where they're like, okay, I get it. Like, they start seeing more traction to their website. They start seeing stores putting more orders in for their jewelry. So it's something that they really do see. It's like an involvement, but some people don't last to the 6 months. And they're like, after month one, they're like, well, what now? I'm like, well, it's literally been like a week. Like, it's very hard for me to be able to tell you, like, your brand's exploding in a matter of a week when we just started getting your assets now. So it is that challenging part. But I've also like weaved in and, I work with people that I really like. And this year was the first year that I decided that I'm going to fire clients that I do not like. And that has been something really great because if the client doesn't treat my team well, like, I don't need to work with them. If they're just, going to be disrespectful for no reason, like I said, we do jewelry. Like, it should be fun. It's light. It's great. And so I've learned this year that like, I'm not going to work with people that like don't deserve to work with my team. And it's been great.
That's got to be such a freeing act of being able to be in a place with, because at the end of the day, this firm that you're running, this is a business. You've got to make
Yeah,
money. You've got to survive. You got to pay your team. They've got to survive.
totally.
But to be in a place where you can take a step back and be like, you know what? This isn't good for X, Y, and Z reasons. I'm going to cut the ties. And I'm okay doing that if that means that that's going to be better for us in the long run. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, and I honestly recommend that for anybody. I know it's, like, scary and, like, listen, sometimes it's like, okay, like, obviously, like, it's a great, client in the financial world, but at the same time, it's like my sanity is worth more, and also, like, so are the boundaries, and my team, for me, is very like, I protect my team, and they don't deserve to ever be treated disrespectfully or anything. So, for me, I, like, do a hard no, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I was looking at your website, your social, and even like behind you right now, there's a lot of iconic
Yeah,
faces behind you and all over your social, like Angelina Jolie, of course. And, is that Sydney Sweeney back there and Casey
yeah,
Musgraves? And is there a
yeah,
Reese
very good.
Witherspoon back there too?
Yes, there's, like, a
A
few.
few different. So are these all examples? Taylor Swift, I mean, so many awesome ones.
Yes.
Are these all examples of,
Our placements. Yep.
yeah,
So
wow.
all everyone behind me are just some that we've like put into tiles, but there's like so many more. And it's like the one thing is that even though I've been doing this for so long, I still get as excited for my clients when they get a placement, even if it's someone that I've worked with, because it's amazing for them, Like, if you really think about it and like try to explain to them, it's like these women and men get, served so much jewelry, right? Like, they are presented with so much amazing, product out there, and they chose you. And so when you're like against with like all these other companies, it's really special that like ultimately it was your earring that worked. And I say that also for editorial when it was like a cover, right? It's like, think about how much jewelry like they're calling from us, they're calling from so many other talented designers and PR agencies. And it was like your piece that just like worked. And so it like really is something incredible because you really are up against so much competition. So it really is really rewarding. And I still find it rewarding.
Hey guys, let's talk about another partner of the podcast, Branded and Devoted Designs. Are you looking to level up your company's merch game? Your brand deserves better than boring swag. If you contact Branded and Devoted Designs, you can level up with custom hats, shirts, tumblers, mugs, and more that your customers and clients will brag about. Go to www.brandedanddevoteddesigns.com to make your brand stick out. Mention that Logan from Your Morning Drive sent you, and they will give you 10% off of your order. That's brandedanddevoteddesigns.com. Tell them Logan sent you from Your Morning Drive for 10% off your order.
Yeah, that is awesome. Speaking of rewarding, I mentioned in the intro, and then of course this is plastered on your social media because why wouldn't it be? But of course, one of these standout moments is, Kendrick Lamar wearing some pieces during the Super Bowl halftime show. I mean, did you know that was going to happen? Did you notice when you watched it for yourself? I mean,
That's
what was that
exactly how it
experience
was.
like for you?
So, because we work a lot with celebrities, I know like we have we have an amazing roster of people that have worn our jewelry, but for each placement, there's like 30 times that we send that it doesn't work, right? So I know how it works. And so it was Super Bowl weekend, and I think it was like it was Thursday night at like 9 p.m. And the stylist and one of my colleagues, one of my girls on my team were like texting, and she's like, "Hey, do you have any brooches we need for Kendrick?" I forgot, it was like in New Orleans, I believe, the Super Bowl. And they're like, "Hey," like, and we had missed cut off shipping for the Friday delivery. So we're like, "Okay, we'll see if we could just send for Saturday." So we asked like our clients to send, and even the client was like, "This is such a long shot." And even I was like, "Listen, like there's a big chance this doesn't work," but I always say, and it's Wayne Gretzky's line, but it's like our family motto is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I was like, it for sure won't work if we don't send, so we might as well.
Yeah.
So I had actually 3 clients that were sending for this specific thing, and 2 of the UPS boxes actually were delayed because it was like a bad weather. So one of them made it. And so she got it, and we kind of just like let it go. We let them do their fitting, and we don't like to stress because it's like a big deal. And I know how much goes into like the fittings with them. And so I was like, whatever, we'll just wait till Sunday and see. We had no idea if something was going to work. And the halftime show comes on, and I'm with my husband and one of my children. And I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Is that this?" And I'm like showing them that it was like clearly it, but I just needed that, like, wait, is this really it? And they're like, "Yes." And it was like this feeling. And I called my client. I'm like, "Oh my God." It was like the biggest deal because it's something that I can never replicate. And that's like what I try to explain to people. Like, it's an experience and it's a visibility that, like, unless it was another Super Bowl, there will never be eyes like that on any event, like ever. So for me, it was like this crazy, like big deal. And then like the press that came with it was just something that like really was a career highlight because every single outlet was writing about it. It was just it was out of control. It was an amazing moment. And just like for my clients, it was just so special because it was surreal, like that it actually did work and like all the stars aligned like for it to happen. And so it was really amazing.
Yeah, it just means it was meant to happen. I mean,
Exactly.
with you guys talking about the Wayne Gretzky quote, which I use to this day, but instead of quoting Wayne Gretzky, I quote Michael Scott.
Okay. Was
But
Michael Scott the first? Who? Okay. I was
Michael
like,
Scott,
who
I
did it
think,
first?
stole Wayne Gretzky's quote.
Okay, good. I was like, am I miscrediting?
No. It's definitely Wayne Gretzky.
Okay.
But it's true. I mean, you never know. I mean, like you
Yeah,
said, it's guaranteed not to happen if we don't send it. The
exactly.
fact that you did send it and it did work out is like, wow, what a
Yeah.
huge moment. And
But
so
it
then,
also
like,
like helps the client. Oh, sorry. It also like kind of helps the client realize that like, because many times it's like a frustrating experience, right? Because like you send and it takes a lot to like make things happen when it like doesn't work out. So I think that like seeing that moment actually work out, it's like, this is why we send it. Like, despite you thinking that half the time it doesn't work out, it's that one time that it does that is worth all of this.
sure. And then when it comes to like some of these relationships, because, we've talked a lot about relationships and how the power of relationships can fuel any business, but especially the one that you're in. I mean, do you have relationships with any of these women that are behind you? Do you guys, I don't want to say talk, but do you know them personally, or is it more just like
No, it's
you're working with
strictly
their
through their
management?
stylist.
Yeah,
So typically it's like their stylist or their assistant who we've like worked with, and that's really who I get to really, like a lot of them have become friends of mine. So going back to LA, that I was saying that LA is an important part for Yaya. Like we are New York City based, but LA feels like a second home for us.
sure.
I'm there at least like once every 2 months during award season. We really are almost like there like a lot.
Yeah,
And it's really like a lot of these people have become dear friends of mine because I really speak to them so much. And for me, like this is something that they see is that I really do love working with them and I really enjoy them as people and it's not transactional, where I think that that is something that sets me apart because I'm not here for the transaction. Like I genuinely really like getting to know people and a lot have become dear friends. Like people, we just celebrated my son's bar mitzvah and a lot of them happen to have been invited because we really have such a great relationship. And I think that that is really nice. And that is something when I chose PR is something that was important to me. Again, relationships, like being able to connect with people is something that I value tremendously because it feels, I don't know, like it's something like really special that you're able to like, hey, like part of my job is like, I'm going to meet you for coffee. Like we're going to dinner, we're going to a show. Like that's really nice that I can say that this is my job, like not many people can. And I think that that is awesome.
yeah, I agree completely. And something so, and it's so cool that you'd be able to become such good friends with some of them, to be able to invite someone to like your son's bar mitzvah. That's a huge personal achievement for him and for your
Yeah.
family. So to be able to say like, yeah, it's a no brainer to invite them. Like that's really cool, and it
Yeah.
just kind of goes to show you and everyone else that like relationships do matter, and it's like not everything
A lot.
has to be transactional. We can just want each other to win and want to do whatever we can to help each other win without it being a transaction. So I love that.
And going to your wins, it's funny because like PR, people always say that it's like so catty and they're so like competitive. And like my philosophy has always been like, listen, there's so many jewelry brands out there. There's so many placements. There's so many opportunities. Like you don't need to like hate on each other. Like, I don't know. Like if someone asks me for like a contact, like I'm the first to give it because like I don't see it as a competition. Like I think that there's just so much opportunity for everybody that there's no reason to like want to see somebody fail. And so that's something that I've like really, set myself apart, and like when you talk about like other PRs or just like when you see like it's just there's room for everybody. There really is. And I think that, going to like where we are now with a digital platform, it also has allowed so much more opportunities to arise. Like I get it. When I first started, it was only your magazine. And if you got cut, you had to wait 3 months for you to see a placement. Now there's like so many different stories. Like people need content. People need, there's just so much that you can like bring to the table and like be able to show. So I think that that is something really nice and that people really need to kind of like see.
Yeah, I completely agree. One more before we kind of transition to the last little piece of the conversation is, so there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of jewelry brands out there. For up and coming jewelry designers or brands who kind of want to make their mark and get involved in this space of kind of trying out the whole influencer marketing, PR, stuff like that, what advice would you give them about standing out and building a lasting presence?
I think the most important thing is to stay true to your own identity. And I think that the problem that I see a lot of times is that people try to like see other brands and they're like, how can I get this? Like, why aren't I getting this? And it's like, okay, because they have their own identity. And I think that if you design for yourself and see the vision that you see for yourself and that it becomes like this identifiable brand, that's going to stand you out no matter what. The minute you start trying to be like someone else because that it's working for that person, it's the minute that you lose your identity and like you're just going to become like you're not going to have any presence. Like no one's going to care to highlight you because it's just going to show that you're like copying or being, influenced by someone's design. Like if you want to be a designer, design for what you want to design and like show what your inspiration is. Like don't be inspired by other designers. That is like something that is like please do not.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So, yeah, there comes a point in every conversation I have with my guests where we We just spent the first part of this conversation getting to know what you do and who you serve and how you do it and the relationships you've built. But now I kind of just want to get to know you as a person, who you are when you shut the laptop. Are you ready for these questions?
It's
They can
hard.
be rapid fire if we want them. They're very first date questions. They're
Great.
very good.
Well, it's funny because you say shut the laptop. I'm like, I wish I've actually gotten better. But the funny thing about PR, which kind of really sucks, is that like I joke because I sometimes feel like I'm more on call than like a doctor, and it's PR, not OR. We joke, but it's true. Like I've always said that I'm so accessible to everybody, and I always am. But in the last year, I really have tried to like disconnect a little bit, a little bit.
Sure. Well, even before I ask you this one, then it just makes me wonder, like, how do you draw those lines? Because like you said, I mean, something could happen on a whim and then you got to pivot a whole strategy. I mean, like, how do you just say, you know what? It's out of my hands tonight. The laptop
I
is shut.
don't.
Do not disturb is on. You don't?
I don't. I can't, you know what? I like physically wouldn't be able to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I know that I should, but like, there are certain moments that like just, it would be a loss for a client, right? So, like,
Sure.
it could be like specifically like award season. Award seasons are always during the weekends. And so,
Yeah.
my team, we're split up between like, we do VIP and then like the editorial side. So, they know that it's going to be late hours because in LA, the time difference. And so, it'll be here like 10 o'clock, sometimes 1 a.m. And so, they're working because if we miss those credits, you miss that initial like big PR push. So it's really hard. And it's not always, but I think that with PR, it comes at like certain times, like you are going to be needed and it could be a late hour, it could be like that. So it's hard. I won't ever like leave something to tomorrow if I felt like it was important.
Yeah. That makes total sense. So, with these first date questions, they can be rapid fire. We can discuss them in length if needed, but they're really just kind of fun little questions to
Okay.
get to know you as you. What is your all-time favorite movie?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard one. I'm such a movie person. I don't know. I love The Sweetest Thing. Oh my God, that's a hard one. There's so many good movies. Ooh. Clueless just because it, like, brings me back to, like, that moment, and I think it was, like, ahead of their time. I don't know. Oh my god, I might have to come back to you as I think about that. Funny thing though I also love horror movies.
Oh yeah, me too.
Like, the originals, like, the Friday the 13th original Nightmare on Elm Street, like, Halloween, but the originals, like, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw. That's
Yeah,
a great one. My
yeah.
brothers I have 2 older brothers, like, that's why, like, I would say, like, my first movie was probably one of those.
Hey, it builds character. It makes it.
It
It makes it.
does, it does. It's definitely one of those things that, like, people would never relate to me, but yes.
No, it's that is funny. I would not have seen that coming,
See?
but I love it. I love it. I love it a lot. What was your first job ever? The first time you were like a W-2 employee, what were you doing?
Abercrombie& and Fitch.
Ah, very
I
good.
Yep, in my mall, I was walking with my mom, and they, like, hired me on the spot, and I was so excited.
That is
Yeah.
exciting. Very cool. Very cool.
Although that is a company that really, like I feel like it should have stayed true to what I know that that's another one that's come under fire for many things, but, like, it really it's an OG story that, like, it just had its moment at the time, and,
Yeah.
it's funny when I go into it with my kids now, I'm like, it feels very different than it used to be.
Yeah. I haven't been in one in God, probably 5 plus years, maybe 10.
Well, you don't hear the music bouncing and the smells of the colognes just, like, going through the hallways. I always say to myself, I'm like, "I don't know how I actually worked here."
It was always so dark in there. You like walk in, you
Yes.
like I need to be like that grandpa that whips his phone flashlight out at a restaurant because he can't read the menu.
Yeah.
But very good. Do you know what I am talking about when I ask you what your walkout song would be?
No, but I'm, like, in my head, maybe I do, but what is it? Like,
So
if
like you're like entering the ring to for a fight or you're stepping
okay.
up to the plate to bat, what song is playing to hype you up?
We just had this whole, like, talk because I had to for my son's bar mitzvah, we had to do a walkout song, and it was very hard to come out with a song, but my husband and I picked "Bring 'Em Out." It was not very, like, original, but it, like, felt
Yeah.
like it would went with the theme.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. So additionally on the music front, you get to organize yourself a music festival. You get to pick 3 headliners. Who are your 3 headliners? They could be alive or dead.
Okay, let me think. Let me think. Okay, so I like Spanish. So one thing about me is I like Spanish a lot. I also like Israeli music and I like hip hop too. So it's going to be like a three really random mix for you.
Hit
Okay.
me.
For I like Omer Adam for
Okay.
Israeli. He actually just sold out Madison Square Garden, which was pretty cool. Not too
Oh,
long
good
ago,
for
I got to
him.
see him. Ricky Martin because it brings me back to like really like fun times in my life.
Yeah.
And then I would do like Biggie or like, I would do, yeah,
I'm there for it. That's a great lineup.
that's the most random lineup, but it like works in its way.
It does. There's something for everybody there. No matter who you are or how old you are, there's something for everyone.
Exactly.
On a day, which I know now is probably few and far between for you, but on a day that you shut that laptop and take care of you,
Okay.
what is self-care for you?
I am like, I would love a massage. I'm like a huge like spa day person. Like I would love to just like go to a spa and have a massage and just sit in quiet. Although the funny thing is I say that, but I physically don't think I could do that. I've always like, it's funny. I always like joke that I'm like, I would love to be that person that could just sit in a room and like read a book. Like I can't. Like there's
Yeah.
just no ounce about me that can ever do that. But a spa I could do. Like that I could do. Maybe for like an hour and a half.
Very good. I like it. Is there a piece of advice that you were given at some point in your life or a famous quote that you just, besides the Wayne Gretzky,
Yeah.
that you try to live every day and just really be true to?
I don't necessarily think it's a quote. I think it's really just like live in the moment is something that I really try to do. My father, unfortunately, passed away last year. And he was sick at the last 3 years of his life. And like one thing that I always like tried to emphasize to him, and it's something that I've like taken on is that like you have to really just like live today because you never know what's going to happen and just try to like enjoy today.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that makes your morning drive happen every week. Are you looking to elevate your business and your brand? Hammerhead Creations is here to help. They offer top tier marketing services, including social media management, website design, and Google page optimization, ensuring your business reaches the right audience. Whether it's a side hustle or your full-time grind, their expert team, me, is ready to help you grow. Plus, if you're into podcasting like me, Hammerhead Creations offers full support for both in-house shows and external podcast creation. From concept to production, we will help you bring your ideas to life. Visit www.hammerheadcreations.com and discover how we can take your business or your podcast or both to the next level. Hammerhead Creations, swim with the big sharks.
Yeah. Tomorrow is not guaranteed,
It's not
which is crazy because like we had this discussion the other day because like we went to my uncle's birthday party over the weekend and it was at a bar and so my parents were there and
that's fun.
it was a good time, but I Irish goodbyed and didn't say bye to my mom, like because she was just deep in conversation. I didn't want to interrupt her, and I knew I was going to see her again yesterday, so I was like, I'll just see her again yesterday.
Right.
I'll see her on Sunday, and like
Okay.
I walked away from that, and I actually kind of felt bad, like driving home. I was thinking like, man, what if something happened to mom tomorrow and I didn't say bye? Like it
Did
really
you go
hit me
back?
hard randomly. I don't know, but
It's true though. Like it's pretty impressive that you thought of it because I think that we just take the things for granted. And I think that like people don't really like realize that and like think about the what if. So I think that like it's more just the typical like whatever, like I'll see them tomorrow, I'll speak to them tomorrow. Or like you gotta just like live today. Like just try to really, anything you have to say, like don't wait to tomorrow. That's another
yeah,
thing. It drives me crazy. It's like if you're gonna do it tomorrow, like just do it today. Like why? I say this to my husband all the time. Like he's like, I'll just get to it tomorrow. I'm like, but why? Like if you're gonna be able to do it today.
I love that. You and I are very similar in that. And like, am this hustle, go, go, go person. My wife is a teacher, so she kind of takes each day on its own
Patience.
and has great patience for me. And so, she'll say, I'll do it tomorrow. And I'm just like, just do it now. Just what are you waiting for?
Why? I know, I never understand it.
But yeah, it just made me the whole mom thing. It just, my wife lost her mom before we got married. And,
Never
just
easy.
every time I like complain about my mom or something like that. Like I feel a level of like, oh, well, she doesn't have her mom anymore, and it just kind of happened. So it's like, man, I should really not Irish goodbye and actually say bye to my mom when I leave an event, because something
Yeah.
could happen to her or me, and then I don't get that chance again. So
You never want to like regret. I always say that, like, never want to regret anything, right? So
yeah,
like you want to wake up tomorrow and just be like, okay, like there wasn't anything I could have done differently.
yep, I 100% agree. And then a couple more, my friend. What is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. I don't know. Public speaking.
Huh?
I know, it's true. I'm so good one-on-one, like in like a dinner like setting, but if I had to like I had to, unfortunately, my dad's funeral, but that was the first time I ever had to public speak. Like I cannot, like in a group of people, like have to do a speech. It's very hard for me,
Well, that's
which is kind of
actually
crazy.
very, very relatable, because that is also one of my biggest fears is public speaking. Same thing. One on
See, and
one,
you love it.
one on one, I am your guy, but you
Yes.
put me up on a stage in front of people, I am
No,
terrified. But so I told myself that in 2026 I'm going to get over some of these fears. So I was approached by a nonprofit that's local here to my area if I wanted to be the MC for their charity event in February, and there's like
okay.
600 people are going to be there, and I'm so scared.
You're gonna do great. Honestly, I love that you go from 0 to 60 though. You're like, yeah, an MC of like 600 people.
Yeah, well, the person who pitched it to me also kind of downplayed it, and the next person that's involved with the event I talked to, that she was like, "Oh, there's gonna be like 4, 5, 600 people there," and I was like, "Huh?" So
But you've
I
already
figured that
committed. Too bad.
I figured if yeah, and that's the thing. It's a nonprofit, and I don't want to back
Yeah,
out on them. So it's like, oh man, I guess if I can do this event, then I can talk to any room. If I can talk to 600 people,
100%. You got
oh,
this.
thank you. I need that. And then lastly, Yaya, what is your main motivator? What gets you out of bed every morning? What's your pushes you? What is your morning drive?
I would say my family and Yaya. Like Yaya is like a very big part of me. Like I feel like it really gives me my identity in a way, like without just being like a mom or a wife. And so I would say like my kids, of course, and Yaya.
Is there anything that this wasn't one of the questions, but just out of curiosity, is there anything if you weren't doing PR that you would like, oh, well, if I wasn't doing this, I'd absolutely be doing that?
So funny. I like really secretly love like Criminal Minds. Like I love like I think if I didn't do PR and it didn't involve so much math like in college, I really wanted to be like a behavior analysis. Like I love that. Like I love SVU, Criminal Minds. Like I love the minds of crazy people. I don't know why. So yeah, fun fact.
Well, it taps into that love for the horror
Horror.
genre. So I'm not surprised, because I myself also enjoy horror movies a lot. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I could have been in law enforcement and been like a detective or something,
What's
because
your favorite? What's your favorite movie?
my favorite movie or favorite horror movie?
Okay, favorite horror movie.
Oh, man.
See,
That's
putting
tough.
you on this spot.
So one of the ones that really stood out to me was The Conjuring when that came out in like
Okay.
2013 or 2014. I was raised very Catholic, so
Okay.
when that movie came out, my mom was like, "You're not allowed to go." I was in high school at the time. "You're not allowed to go see it. You're not going to bring the devil into our home," like stuff like that. So I purposely snuck out to go see
And
this
saw it.
movie with my friends. And when she found out, I only told her years later. I was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, when I told you I was going to see Spider-Man, I actually went and saw The Conjuring."
That's hilarious.
I really love Paranormal Activity, the original one. I just think it's filmed so cool with like, it was like kind of the first of those like found footage, like filmed
You
on a
like do
webcam kind of. Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
So
like more like the serial killer, like real life can happen in a weird
did you
way.
did you watch on Netflix the Ed Gein?
Of course.
What did you think?
That's like the Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
That's like what it was inspired by. I thought it was like creepy as hell and it like was crazily done, but it was amazing.
Yeah, my wife was like, "Why do they keep casting these good-looking men as these serial killers?" This is
Well,
she's
look
like,
at
"I'm
Ted
weird."
Bundy. He was really good looking.
She's like, "I'm weirdly attracted to Ed Gein, but I know it's Charlie Hunnam under
He
all
was
that."
so yeah, he was, I mean, he was nuts, but yeah.
He did great. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's
Well,
funny.
awesome. My friend, now tell people, tell me, tell the world, tell the people listening how to find you, how to learn more about you, and if by chance someone's listening that's one of these jewelry companies that is looking
Yeah.
to expand their reach, tell them how to contact you.
The best way to contact me is on my Instagram, Yaya Publicity. It's also just where I showcase everything, so it's a good way for people to, like, always just know what we're doing and what placements we've received and just any news that we have going on. And there on my message, I always look at all my messages and stuff, and I see a lot of, potential clients that reach out and whatnot. So I appreciate it, and I hope to see some of the listeners on our page.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, I will make sure that I link Instagram in the description of the episode so that if you're interested in following along for her journey, you can just jump on over and follow along. Yeah, thank you so much for taking time out of your
Logan, thank you.
Monday. And know now how busy you are and the great work that you're doing. So the fact that you gave me an hour of your time today is really awesome.
No, this was so great. It was so nice speaking with you, and thank you.
Awesome. Guys, again,
Thanks.
her information is in the description. Follow her, please. Come on, Dad, trying to call me right when I'm wrapping this thing up. Guys, make sure you follow me on social media as well, Logan A. Lewis. You can follow, of course, Your Morning Drive on all of the platforms and the marketing company Hammerhead Creations as well. If you're interested in any of those things, follow along. Would love to have you. Thank you again to everybody, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.